young people from entrepreneurship extends beyond JA Ghana. He actively collaborates with industry leaders, government agencies, and educational institutions to create an enabling ecosystem that supports the aspiration of the budding entrepreneurs. Through his advocacy efforts, Abeku strives to shape the future where young people are not just job seekers, but job creators, driving innovation, economic growth, and social progress. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we do your round of applause? Okay. So we have our last panelist join us. He's in the person of Mr. Sape Biden. A round of applause. He is the CEO and CD at Banchiko. He stands as an individual known for his pioneering initiatives and transformative leadership in the agri-tech sector. His journey commenced with the inception of Good Food Farms and Banchiko Limited, where he envisioned and established an innovative digital cassava ecosystem, setting the stage for profound industry innovation. His influence extends globally, as evidenced by his participation in various international conferences, summits, and foundation memberships, where his insights enriches the global entrepreneurship narrative. With a commitment to nature ecosystems, fostering innovation and sustainable growth, Sape's journey epitomizes an unyielding dedication to reshaping industry norms, leveraging technology, and propelling businesses towards resounding success. Truly, it is an honor to have all of you on the panel. Okay, so the conversation is definitely centered about entrepreneurship, acceleration, and the focus is Africa. So the question is, first question you can pick it out, but I would like to start with Sape. What is your take on entrepreneurship in Ghana? How, in regards to the evolution, how has entrepreneurship evolved over the years?
Hello. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Entrepreneurship, first off, we have over-romanticized the concept of entrepreneurship. That's the first thing. And I think that it takes away the seriousness that is supposed to be attached to who entrepreneurs are and their contribution to society as a whole. When I think about myself being an entrepreneur and the kind of responsibilities I've been through to get to where I am now, and I hear people talking about entrepreneurship on social media and different spaces, and very so often trying to romanticize entrepreneurship, then well, the thing is this: over the years, we have seen entrepreneurship grow, not only in Ghana, but on the African continent as a whole. And it boils down to one thing. You realize that where there are problems that need innovative solutions, you definitely have to have entrepreneurs that emerge to be the catalyst for providing sustainable solutions that drives investments and sustainable development. So guess what? Over the years, Africa has evolved to become a place where the young people want to take the development into their own hands and want to evolve the continent by themselves through innovation solutions. So when I started out in the entrepreneurial space, probably about 10 to 12 years ago, I was still in the university at the time. We didn't have many people within that space, Currently, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. you know, and we are not really drumming home what it takes to be an entrepreneur. We don't have existing structures that support entrepreneurship on the continent. We have development partners within different spaces doing the job of our government. It's pretty sad when you think about it. Because when we truly want entrepreneurship to evolve, where it's inclusive, where it's dynamic, where young people can thrive, then it's a partnership between government, the young people, and the private sector. So, from where I sit as an entrepreneur who is within the agricultural space, you'd realize that I have a lot of people or cohorts of different individuals that started with me some years ago. Many of them have either gone back to corporate or have simply just dropped out and are still looking for jobs. And that's the reality of entrepreneurship as it stands now. You'd realize that the people who are very innovative in putting the paperwork together have become entrepreneurs. You are laughing because it's true. Running around, giving beautiful speeches, raising a lot of money, but zilch impact on the ground. Building house of cards and then touting them as businesses. I'm sure I'll come back to that.
Yes, so just to add to what something said. So I'll take it more from two perspectives. When Engineer Richard was speaking, we also the GDP as it pertains to the various continents. So when we come to Africa, in that presentation, one thing came to mind. I remember the first year in secondary school when I went to my economics class. My lecturer was like, okay, let's define gross domestic product, the GDP. And there was quite a very lengthy definition for that. And one thing that was very simplified for us was that gross domestic product, meaning that GDP, the products, meaning that you are producing. So once you are producing, that tells you that it is added to the various economic and development situations that you actually see. So each time you see GDP, once you are producing, entrepreneurship is really contributing to the very big factor. So that's the point I want to really make for the purposes of submission. Now, if you look at, there was a paper by African Development Bank, and that mentioned that entrepreneurship is really contributing significantly to economic development. You can see from the statistics even in various parts of the world. So we cannot do away with entrepreneurship. So if you look at it from the government perspective, there's the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Program. I'm sure a lot of us have known that, helping to grow entrepreneurs and all of that. This morning we've had speeches. If you look at the African Free Trade Continental, we now have that to help us to be able to connect markets, even domestically and internationally. These are all interventions. We've had presentations of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center giving us opportunities and support for various entrepreneurs. I'll take, if you look at the streams that I was doing, if you look at countries like Morocco, Russia, Kenya, you would see that these countries have what we call startup acts. And so to be able to coordinate these efforts, what I'm actually proposing usually is that if you have startup acts, now we are in a technologically advanced era now, so we should be looking at startup acts for countries that will look at areas around technological advancements. You can also look at areas around unlocking access to capital, which is very key. And one of the critical areas that I always like to mention is mentorship and networking. For example, I'm very happy that the ES speakers are actually been able to start a land loan, and Madam Chairperson has mentioned the importance of social capital. You can't talk about entrepreneurship and separate all of these conversations. So once you have that, this is also support. If you come down to industries such as agriculture, we have a government intervention that we do as the Ghana Commodity Exchange, where we are talking about providing access to market. And for those of us who are hearing of this for the first time, this is a government intervention that is helping small-scale farmers and other members to be able to participate in the agricultural landscape by providing access to market, access to soil, and access to financing. So these are the areas I would like to touch on to say that entrepreneurship really has really progressed very quickly and gradually, and I think that is quite significant, and there's still a lot more to that.
Thank you for that, everybody. Thank you so much. And we all can testify that we can try as much as we want as entrepreneurs to pull all the strings, but then if we don't have the inputs of the government, we can ensure that there are policies in place, we would always run in circles and feel crippled. So I want to find out what are the changes in policy or regulations that are required to create a more conducive environment for youth entrepreneurship, especially in Africa, in Ghana to be precise. So this question, Green, you want to take a shot?
All right. It's good you didn't try to say Albert again. This is the first time in my life that I've been called Albert. I'm just looking at my fellows. Is there another person using green? But yes, thank you very much. And if you listen to what every speaker has said and what the gentleman sitting next to me have said, governments play the most important role in making sure that young people and entrepreneurs thrive. And most often than not, they sing from the hymn that there's no money to do some of the things that they have to do. But sometimes just simple policies that will make it easier for people to start businesses around them. Now, I have friends who have opened shops around the streets in Accra here, and they see government partners like enemies. So they even though the shops are operating, they close them because they are running away from the GRA. And they are not seeing them as development partners, right? So there is this gap between what our leaders see from where their seats are too high, to bring them down to sit right next to us so that they can experience the things that we experience. And so a lot of people are running businesses, but they are running away from GRA because they are coming in and they don't care about whether you are doing well, whether you are making profits. All they care about is taking from you. And if you've lived in Ghana, I think that most of us here may have lived in Ghana in the past 2 or 3 years. You know how, even the price of a simple bread, I buy my bread from Merchant Total because I live close to Merchant Total. Just somewhere last year, bread that I was buying for 13 cedis is now 30 cedis. Right? Yes. There's a nice bread there. It's 30, but I still like it, so I go to buy. But you can see that a lot of people, even though people may be making money from the businesses that they are running, in terms of how much becomes available to them to spend on themselves and their families and the things that matter to them, it's reducing significantly, right? And so what can governments do? But this is around this same period of time, government is on the drive to raise more money from these people who are struggling. Okay? And it's like they need money for so many other things. But the monies are not being channeled to help these people. So if it's simple business registration, from policy standpoint, simple business registration, if you've been to GRA recently, it's the place when you get there, for a young person who has never started a business, you get there, you are just thrown aback. You just find a Google guy and give him money to do something for you. It's so difficult how to file your annual returns. How many people know how to do it? Even people with accounting background, I have an accounting background. If you hear from my profile, I studied industrial chemistry for my first degree. You know that anybody who do something like industrial chemistry for your first degree means that they studied chemistry and physics and elective maths and SS. Nothing around business management, nothing around accounting. So there are a lot of people in my book, even people who have studied accounting, we tell them to file a simple annual return, and then the system is so cumbersome. It is not friendly for a lot of young people going into business. And that is what needs to change because they hold the key. And even though entrepreneurship has grown, right, it's not like we've not made it for a male problem. But if you follow the story of Singapore and from engineers start, you saw how much of their economy is held by SMEs. It's about time our leaders start seeing that SMEs hold the key to our growth. But if you look at the tax break that some of these big corporations come in and they get, it is insane. Yeah. It is insane. They can do that. Once they do that for the small businesses that are starting operating here, we could see a change. And we will see a reduction, hopefully, in the number of young people going to stand at Terminal 3 and looking at them and shaking their head and being, have an idea. Thank you very much.
You want to add to that?
To add to it's working. To add to what Abig said, he mentioned something about he touched on schooling, right? In a way, I feel like in our various schools when we're growing up as millennials or Gen Zs, in our curriculum, the government has not really put in place certain syllabus that inculcates entrepreneurship. And usually, for me, I studied visual arts in SHS. Then straight on, you move to university, you have to pick a course in that same field, right? But you can still learn something about entrepreneurship in SHS. I remember back in JHS, we had a course called Life Skills, where you learn things. Yeah, I feel like our curriculum is really not helping. And he stated that in Singapore, most of their economic development is based on these SMEs. And if we don't start from SS or like we don't start from way back in the educational system, it really affects us when we get to the higher institutions like university. Because sometimes most of us, we do feel confused when we get to universities, like you're not really sure what you are doing. Even though you at SS is in a way like supposed to help build you and your career. But you leave SHS and you are lost. That's the truth if we all be honest with ourselves. So I believe that if we're able to add that to our curriculum, like government's able to add those policies or improve our syllabus and improve our way of thinking, foster independent thinking. Usually, who are art class don't go to they don't really mingle with the business students. Science students feel like they are the ones who are more intelligent than all the. Oh, it's true. That's my experience, and that's the truth. So I feel like we should collaborate, like Dr. Lauren was saying. Collaboration. It's not just when you have come out of university and you have started working that you should start a collaboration. Start it in school, SS, you go to chapel, you can talk to a business student, you share ideas, like she was saying. You keep sharing ideas, you start it all the way in the basic level. Even as parents, if you have kids, you can talk to your kids, you know, when you pick them up from school, you can discuss things with them. Don't feel like they are too young and they are not going to understand anything. Because in the next 10, 15 years, they are going to be the ones starting off with everyone.
I appreciate that breakdown. So I appreciate that breakdown. I think we should swap. Because I see where you took it from the educational side, and then you hinted on the fact that entrepreneurship is not included in the curriculum. I had to wait to hear you end, because most of you will agree that as of now, entrepreneurship is part of the courses in school, even at the university level, but I had to wait for you to end, and I love the angle you took it from. Take it back home. Take it back home. And on this video I saw on TikTok where a teacher has a role with his students, and the students are between the ages of 3 to 7, and she has checks for them that represents money. So at the end of every month, when they walk into the class, she said, yes, deposit your rent. So that is for them being in class. So that way, she is inculcating into them how to manage money, how to manage finances, and how to navigate your way around that. So I really appreciate the point of not only holding government accountable for such policies, but to trickle down all the way to
family.
Exactly, yes. Albert, you wanted to chip in?
Yes, I just wanted to chip in that also they can look at the role of government more from regulatory perspective.
Yeah, so that's what the big was.
Saying that some tax incentives that are provided for businesses. And one thing that I particularly did mention is the fact that government could support entrepreneurs to be able to have business development services. Because training is very critical. So for example, if you start a business, there are some critical elements that you need to know, especially in terms of financial literacy, how to run your business and all of that. And I know there's the Ghana Enterprises Agency that's the program for us to do that and all of that. So I think the core thing is that we need to have knowledge, we need to have access to information. So by virtue of attending workshops and all of these things, we are able to ourselves to see what's available for entrepreneurs to be able to benefit from the system and all of that.
Thank you. So to break this barrier, we are looking at it from the government point. We are looking at it coming straight back home. But we also must acknowledge that we all go to churches, we go to associations. Don't they have a role to play in educating us about the policies that can help us to as entrepreneurs?
I want to highlight the role of policy in action from a certain experience, which I've shared quite a number of times. So when COVID hit, for example, global supply chains were curtailed. Ghana imports almost all of its ethanol needs, right? And the ethanol market in Ghana is about 120 million liters. But guess what? We only produce 3% of our ethanol needs locally. So there's a company that I supply cassava to. You know, I'm their biggest supplier of cassava that produces ethanol using cassava. And because of that de facto policy system that was created due to COVID, every single company in Ghana that needed ethanol deposited money to this company saying that sell me every single drop of ethanol. That is de facto policy being established right there. You see, government needs to be exceptionally proactive in making business easy for locals. As it stands now, a lot of other people have seen the opportunity, and we have about 3 different companies within the space producing ethanol. There's one doing 18 million liters, another doing 6 million liters of ethanol. And the company that started out is doing 3 million liters of ethanol. So that deliberate attempt to draw a policy and implement the policy, because we have a lot of policy sitting around in all these government institutions and are collecting dust that are not being implemented. Even the conversation on tax breaks, entrepreneurs under 35 can decide not to pay taxes if they apply for it. I don't know if you are aware. But how many people are aware? How many entrepreneurs have this information? It's all about policy sensitization. It's about implementing it on the ground so that we can see the policy in action. You know, to your question on the other institutions, I mean, Ghana as well as Africa in the bigger brackets, we are very communal in the way we do things. So it trickles down to the most modular community that we belong to in everything that we do. So even in the support systems that comes with building businesses, in the support systems that comes with, why do you think our politicians go into churches? You know, they are constantly going to churches to activate campaigns. It's because they know what the church provides, you know, the kind of framework that the church provides for that propagation of whatever information that they want to provide. So there's a bigger role for the government and its institutions. There's that role that different communities also need to play as well. It will shock you that when you go into even the district and municipal level, we have a lot of structured policies and also programs that are supposed to disseminate some of this information. But even at those levels, the thing is not working. It's not working. So you'd realize that there's a policy that has been enacted at a certain top level of, let's say, MOTI, Ministry of Trade and Industry. And then the directive has trickled down to that district office in somewhere in Uti region. But the guys over there are not implementing it on the ground. So people within those communities are not even aware that such policies exist. So it's really a bigger conversation, and we can go round in circles, and we are really not going to end this conversation now. But we all have a role to play.
Thank you. That's like some serious just, I mean, like we were just spewing the facts. How many of us believe that we can enjoy such tax benefits? I think we need more education on that.
So entrepreneurs under 35 can get a tax holiday for 5 years. 5 years. So,
Man, that's a bad choice.
go look into it.
Let me share you some facts here. So, according to a paper called Disrupt Africa, here's a little data. Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa are leading in tech startup investments. In 2021, Nigeria had 138 tech startups raising over $200 million. Kenya, 59 startups doing $190 million. And 80 startups raising over 177 million in South Africa. They are obviously leading in Africa. The question is, why can't the rest of us catch up to that? Do we always need the finances? What else apart from finances do an entrepreneur need? Because I can guarantee you the first question you ask any entrepreneur is, I need money, I need funding. Now it's funding and capacity building, which I absolutely agree. Apart from capacity building and funding, what else are we lacking as entrepreneurs in Ghana and Africa as a whole? Yes.
So, I want to touch on what our first speaker spoke about. Madame, she spoke about social capital. I'm going to use my own experience because that's how best I can explain to anybody. I started from a design standpoint. I finished communication design in Cambridge. Then I got a job even before I graduated at Center Stage, where I was a graphic designer for about 3 years. It got to a point, it gets monotonous if you're a designer, you understand what I'm saying. And then I decided to branch into signings, 3D signings, right? One may think, to produce all these letters and to light them up, you need like a huge capital. How am I going to get the money to buy machines? Grinding machine, sanding machine, X, Y, Z, any kind of machine you can think of that will help me with my job. If I told you that, I started with not even one CD, honestly speaking, that's the truth. I found, I collaborated with a friend who linked me to a man who has been doing signings for the past 25 years. And then I went to study under him. I had to learn how to fabricate those signings. I'll go with them to site, do the installation, watch how they operate, how they do everything. And that's social capital. You have to connect yourself with people. You don't always need money to start. That's my issue with most entrepreneurs. Yes, I need money to go and start this. I don't have money to start this. Someone say, I want to venture into shoemaking. I need to make samples before somebody will believe. Yes, fine. You cannot tell me that all these years back in school, you haven't saved a little to even just buy. You don't need to start with a glamorous sneaker or shoe or whatever. You can start with sandals. You can start with something small. Then you speak to people who are already in the industry. You can go and learn under them. That is the problem with the youth. You don't want to do the dirty work. Somebody would have said that, I was wearing heels, I was in suits, I was a graphic designer, I just behind my iMac, and I'm designing. And at the end of the month, I get my pay. Do you understand? But now I needed to switch because I felt like I needed to improve or come up with something more innovative than what I was doing. Okay, and I decided to switch to 3D signages. But when I got to the field, there was a different environment altogether. There is no iMac there is no air conditioning there. You are under some shed, and the machine is making noise. You need to learn how to operate the CNC machine and all of that. It doesn't have to get your hands dirty to get where you want to be or to try and make a change. Sometimes it's not as glamorous as you think it is. So we should just try we should just try and make ourselves available, humble ourselves enough to be able to learn. You went to university, maybe you need to have a certain skill to be able to come up with something more innovative. And you may not necessarily have the skill or the university didn't provide you with the skills you needed. You go to church, you went to school, you have friends, families with them. Maybe somebody's father is, you never know. Do you understand? You go to church, socialize. Or you are sorry, 5 minutes now, or like you don't socialize, you don't talk to people, you don't share your ideas with people. Like Dr. Dora was saying, you don't necessarily share your intellectual property or your idea for your business. But what do you think about signage? Or what do you think about this design? Or what do you think about this clothing, using this fabric? Do you think it will look good? What about if I combine this color and that color? How is it going to be like? Just sharing ideas.
Thank you. So my question is to Mr. Taylor. There are so many startups house in Ghana, probably like over 60 startups. It will probably more than that. So just educate us on how financial literacy programs can be integrated into the entrepreneurship acceleration initiatives to equip entrepreneurs to become better actors.
Thank you very much. I was really enjoying Marianne's story about this. Marianne, very okay, that was exciting. So I was really enjoying that story. But the one thing came to mind, even though my story, my question is related to finance. I remember I was in the mentorship program at the University of Ghana Business about 2 years ago, and I was talking to a group of students, and it was about entrepreneurship. Mentorship. One of the things that I remember reiterating at that point was that we have to have deliberate mentors. So in whichever area that you find yourself in business and all of that, I think it's one thing that has to be deliberately incorporated into curriculum. And I think a lot of the universities now are actually doing well by bringing up mentorship programs. Because entrepreneurship is a journey, you have to learn from experienced people. Like there was this, even though I'm not in Japan, there was a Japanese program that I always say that one day with the mentor is worth 1,000 years of studies. There are mistakes to be made, but if you're able to spend some considerable time with one who has done it before, for me, I think that's the number one important thing apart from the finance. Now, you channel that to link that to access to information, and when it comes up, Abel was speaking, you see that there were elements of the fact that we need to have access to information as entrepreneurs. And for me, these two come. Then from there, now we can zoom into access to financing. And I've really been talking a lot about access to financing in different ways. And one thing that, after engaging with a number of entrepreneurs and by virtue of what I do, I realized that we need to understand that social capital is very important. And at the same time, when it comes to access to capital, you need to understand the various funding stages of your business. And I'll use this opportunity to talk about that. So for example, if you have started your business, and I remember sharing this on the panel with the masterclass of YFM, that you started a business, you have an idea, you know exactly what you want to do. That becomes the pre-seed stage. So please take note of these areas. So at the pre-seed stage, the stage that you are in would require deliberately the kind of financing that you actually require. So, for example, you don't start a business and say that you are going to a financial institution for a loan and all, and you understand why after I summarize this very quickly. Now, after you have been able to test your product, now you've gotten some few customers. But like you have seen financial reports, I've seen the movies, it's a lot of that. Like you have customers, now we are all excited about it. Then that moves you from the pre-seed to the seed stage. At that stage, the finances that you require is also different. When we move from the seed stage, we also have various areas where now you have some customers coming in. You started establishing your market. You now have a market base. If, for example, we have 16 regions, you're able to occupy about 3 or 4 of the regions. You moved to Series A financing, where the kind of financing that you also require as part of your startup stage is also different. Then we have Series B. Now you have established markets. You have new people coming in. You probably have covered most of the areas within the country and are able to scale up. Then you move to Series C. At Series C, your financing that you require is also different. Before you move to what we call the IPO financing, where you now see MTN actually floating shares and other companies for IPO and all that. So when you are at the pre-seed, usually what we recommend is that I mean, and I'm sure most of us here are entrepreneurs, investors, and rich. You should be able to identify which stage our business is in. If you're at the sixth stage, what we recommend is the owner financing. When I was speaking, you could see that there was an element of commitment from your side. You should have your own skin in the game. So we recommend that if you're at the pre-seed, you should have owner financing to support. And then you should be able to have the family and friends also supporting you to be able to do this. And I have a caveat from family and friends that you don't treat this because it's your family and friends. You should just say that, oh, just like you have to have an agreement in place, and then you should be able to have a minimum return that you have to give to whoever is supporting you to be able to. And the reason is that for every financing, there comes a cost. So please note that there's debt financing and then equity financing, and that comes with a cost. Now you move to, we have, you mentioned grant financing. So between seed and then pre-seed. Now when you're actually scaling up, you move to explore grant opportunities that are available. And the main thing about grant financing is that your business should be able to have an impact. And when Engineer Richard was speaking, he mentioned about the fact that we are moving towards sustainability. So once your business is sustainable, you should be able to attract some form of grant financing. There was the mention of venture capital funds. And for venture capital funds, and I remember that stage very well when you mentioned that you don't want to share a part of your business. Now, when you are so between pre-seed moving to Series A, you have to explore the opportunities of venture capital finance. And so in Ghana, we have the Venture Capital Trust Fund, and then other venture capital businesses. What the venture capital fund comes is with experience. The whole you want to be able to navigate through. But there's element of giving up a bit of your equity for them to be able to give you that mentorship and guidance that you actually. Before you actually now explore, there's an element of impact funding that is actually coming up. Impact funding is a global phenomenon that is all over the world, and these impact funds are coming at quite a cheap rate. Before you explore bank financing and all of the others. So it is important for us to educate ourselves to understand that at what stage is your business now? Are you at the pre-seed? Are you at the seed? Are you in Series A? Are you in Series B? Are you in Series C? Before you are able to return the suitable form of financing that is actually everywhere. Once you have this story, I'm sure that will be able to resolve.
So these are some of the things that the hubs in Ghana should take note of.
Yes.
Okay, and one thing that we also experience is role models to actually look up to, especially with various industries. So if I'm in Kenya, I'm in South Africa, I'm in Malawi, I'm in Ghana, question is, which role model in the tech industry should I look up to? Which role model in fashion should I look up to? So I want to come back to you, Abe. I mean, being the executive director of JA Africa, you do a lot. Sorry, JA, you deal with a lot of young entrepreneurs a lot. So I want to find out, how can successful entrepreneurs be role models for upcoming entrepreneurs to inspire, to guide them, to give them a sense of hope that the struggle is for nothing, that there is something to see at the end of the tunnel?
All right. One of the biggest challenges to entrepreneurship that I've seen is a lot of people only see the glamorous life, right? So, and it's the cancer of the era we are in, social media, where people live on social media and project, can you hear me? And project a certain kind of glamorous life. And of course, when you see something that is glamorous, it's nice, everybody wants that. And so the mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs have done is that they don't tell their true story, what they've been through, the struggles they've gone through to get to where they are. They only see the nice things. And it's like when you want to post a picture on Instagram. I think the last time I posted a picture on Instagram should be last year or 2 years ago. You take like 10 pictures and select the best one out of them, and then you post it. And you've done some editing, filtering here and there, and it looks like this is how your life is every day. But the reality is that it's not like that. And so the mistake that most entrepreneurs have done is to project a certain life that is not true, an illusion of success. And especially for the around 30-year-old entrepreneurs, the young men and women, and some of them, unfortunately, you can see them, some people really live their life on social media. And so from morning to evening, everything they do is on social media. You never see them working, but the entrepreneurs who are driving the best cars around. And so it gives a wrong impression to young people. And so if we are going to be mentors, if entrepreneurs are going to be mentors to get them to come along the journey, they need to be real with them. Help them to see the reality on the ground. Forget about the glamour, right? You could get there, but it shouldn't be the main thing. Of course, everybody's excited when they see money and the opportunity to make more money. But we need to do that. And one of the things that we are doing at JA Ghana is we are exposing young people, especially in senior high school, to the understanding that they could do these things on their own in the future. So exposure is really important. But we tell them all the things that they could do, but it's really important that they can see somebody who is not too far from them, who looks like them, who has similar experiences like them, who has been able to make it, to share their stories with them, right? And so that's what we try to do, mentorship programs, job readiness programs, just to connect them to these things. And schools too, and these days schools are doing well, especially universities, inviting a lot of industry people, entrepreneurs, come and have workshop and mentorship sessions with their students. It's the most important thing is about exposing them to what is possible. But the reality is that especially after free SHS, we have a lot of young people getting into the universities and a lot of them coming out. And the reality is that there are not enough jobs for them. So people are going to be entrepreneurs by default, right? Because they can't just sit home. And for most people, for most Ghanaian homes, where parents are counting the day you finish school, because they know that once you finish school, you should start and get the job, and then they're not going to take care of you. And because of the economic situation of where we are, a lot of parents expect their young ones to take care of them. So you are going to be an entrepreneur by default. So if they are going to be, why don't we show them the way so that they can be good entrepreneurs? Because they don't have to go through all the mistakes. We spoke about mentorship and social capital. All the mistakes that you could make, all the beautiful things that Zatengo mentioned about financing. It is not there. Most people don't know. You need to expose yourself to some of these people, connect with them, and listen to them, learn from them. And then you can. So what entrepreneurs need to do is to make themselves available. I just want to say one thing. I think that the business community of Ghana, in Ghana, have not really understood the essence of giving back to the young ones coming up. So last year, on the 1st of May is a Workers' Day, right? I tried to do a job shadow program, and I was very ambitious with the name of my project. I called it "Take 10,000 Students to Work." 10,000. I started talking to a lot of companies around Accra just to see how many students can you accept into your workplace for a full day, get them to see what the workplace is like. I spoke to one HR director, and his concern was, after I explained how the day would be if you have a student shadowing you, his concern was that, so if the original worker would spend 8 hours working on their normal work, because they're going to be explaining the work to the students along the journey, they'll probably do just about 50% of the work. And so they're going to lose productive hours. So I should convince him why he should allow the students to come in. And at that point, with that mind, it's very difficult for me to say anything. But if you understand that, if the people who are going to replace these guys who are working with you now, if they don't understand a certain way of working, if they don't understand the ethics of work, if they don't even get the right insight into the work, for them to make the right choice that this is the kind of place I want to work, or this is the kind of career I want to build, they will come in there and then you go through a bigger struggle, orienting them and getting them ready to be able to add value to what you're doing. And so, not only entrepreneurs, even business owners or established companies, we need to be ready to open up our arms to accept a lot of young people. And most jobs, I also recruit, because I run an organization, I also recruit. The reality is that you would not usually give a full-time role to somebody who has never done anything before. The reason why you are recruiting is because you have a problem, or you have a need, you have a gap that you want somebody to come in to solve. The best way to assess whether the person can solve it is not because the person had a first class, because the person has done something similar before. If we don't open up our doors, we don't open up our arms and help to give back to these young people, how would they get to the point where they can add value to us and add value to the economy in general? So we have a big task on our hands, and we need to have that mindset. Stop worrying about somebody coming to steal your job. You are 5 years ahead, you are 10 years ahead. The university graduate is not going to take over your work. If you want to take over Ghana, just like what Dr. Nora said, look at Africa, look at the world, leave that for them. And once we have that mindset, we open up our minds to them, we can help the young ones come on.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give our Thank you so much. Entrepreneurship in Africa, we cannot exhaust this topic in 30 minutes. But we are so grateful for all the inputs. At this point, I'd like to open the floor for Q&A, just for the sake of time, just maybe 3 or 4 questions.
Right.
Okay, so the 2 gentlemen are the top 3. So one, the gentleman in yellow, the gentleman in the suit at the back, the gentleman in the white. My ladies, thank you. So yes, so and then okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. So, yes, the gentleman in yellow can go first, please. So you ask your question and you point to the panelists who you want to answer that question.
Just give me time. There's an issue in Ghana. I'm a massive advice because of this. I want to explain things that I got to this. If you go to our bank, you tell you they have the money. Sometimes they are everybody coming for salary loan, 40,000 dollars. Is the money is there. But if you ask the bank, that's why they are not giving the money to the businesses in Ghana. Tell you we the business people do not put our books. You know that is why the money people has the money. If you ask the business people, they also tell you they don't get the money from the banks. And why you identify the project, you are talking about 70% of it. So in your position, can we do something for the banks because they have the money in the bank? But they say we are not.
So what's the question?
The question is, can we break and do a big between what they are saying and what see the business people are
The business. The name, please. What's your name?
Francis,
Francis, yes. Your question is a very important question, and it was one of the questions I was actually expecting. And one thing that I always say when it comes to finance, you see that the moment you conceive the idea that you started a business and you want to raise financing, one of the things you have to know is that you have to prepare for the financing. So I have a terminology I mentioned, the PEM approach. You have to, so this is what it is. Prepare as an entrepreneur for financing, execute financing, and then most importantly, manage your finances. So these are the 3 things. Now, the issue that you have raised falls under the preparation stage. So what I usually would say when I meet entrepreneurs and we are saying that, usually the challenge is that we defer the activities of keeping your books and analysis to later. When you start a business, you are focusing on other aspects rather than the bookkeeping that you have to do. So it's like you have to focus on how you can develop the business, engaging clients, and all of that. So that becomes a challenge when you get to the point where you need some kind of injection. Now, the point is that change your mindset from today as an entrepreneur, that if you start your business, you have to start preparing for financing from day one. And what does it take for you to prepare for financing? Now, just put your books in order by I'm talking about compliance. You have your regulations in terms of how you have registered the business. And it's interesting to note that the way you even register your business has an impact on your financial reporting. For example, if you register as a company limited by shares, there's a financial implication. If you register as a company limited by guarantee or a sole proprietor. So this is one thing that you should know. 2, do you have the business operating permit? So if you're operating in Accra, there has to be an operating permit from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly or Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. There's compliance from the Registrar General's Department and all of this. That is one aspect of it. When it comes to the financial reports, I say that one of the challenges that come across is sometimes the company cannot afford the basic software. You can do with a simple Excel. And I say that for every expenditure that you please put it down. And then take the steps to ensure that you start doing so like workshops like this. When you hear of, and I think Dr. Bannerman mentioned that when you hear of various workshops, doing some financial literacy programs, get involved. Don't say because I'm an entrepreneur, so it means that I'm not going to do some accounting or anything. Please, now today's entrepreneur, I say that today's entrepreneur is an all-round entrepreneur. You do a bit of technology, you do a bit of accounting, finance, you do a bit of all other aspects, marketing, branch management, and all of that. So take the pain to be able to put every expenditure down. Then you can engage from the various workshops that you have done. How do you put your books in order like the various expenses? So you can engage one who has probably has some good insight to be able to start building your books together. And when you are building your books, there's something we call the charts of account. Before you can prepare various financials, so we have 4 main financials by the International Financial Reporting Standards: the profit and loss account, the statement of financial position, statement of cash flows, and the statement of payments and equities. Have that in mind, and know that before you can prepare this, and this is just a few things I'm really very happy to you off. So I think we should be putting our hands together with Western Young for this very important.
And I must say that due to time, when the questions come, please give us straight answers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have answers to them as soon as we are tackle them for more use. Okay, so we'll take the next 2 questions, unfortunately, because of time. So we'll put the gentleman and then the lady, fortunately. And then we do the answers. Yes. Thank you.
My name is Silver. Ladies and gentlemen, very years in business. So I wanted to talk to a big boss on the very right. The question is directed to you. How do I benefit? Because I'm below 35 years. But currently, GRA is after me to give me 22.5% because they said within the 3 years of my business, I qualify for such, which I say is very competitive with other businesses, since others are going to compete with people who are on flat rates. And it is a serious battle. I'm battling with them, but still, they've gone ahead to issue me with the standard rates, which is really making things very difficult for me. And then my second question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you face as an entrepreneur? How do you navigate? For some counts and takes you back. So I want to know how you navigate through the storm business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very fun question.
The lady front.
Thank you very much. My name is Pokwa Izia. I'm the head of State Health here. Now I have a contribution and a question. So I'd like to say that when you go to, for the young people who are about to start business or who have started businesses, when you go to GEA, they have grants. They open up grants for young people who are already in business and those who want to start businesses. And the process is as transparent as it can be. And so you can be sure that as long as you satisfy the requirement, you will get the grant. So walk into their office anytime and you get more information on that. Now my question is to Mr. Sasha, I believe. For someone who doesn't have any background in agriculture, what will it take for such a person to start a business in agriculture? Thank you.
All right. Let me deal with that. So the challenges in my entrepreneurial journey, I'll deal with that first, and I'll come to you. In 2014, 2015, at the time, I was one of the biggest suppliers of cassava to an Isuzu starch factory. And I had 200 acres of cassava in the ground. The factory had issues with their processing line. So you have an off-take agreement, but they come buy your cassava, and the cassava is ready for harvest. And then I started hopping around from community to community, asking around for medium and small-scale processors so I can sell the cassava to them. I went to like different government agencies from MOFA that are in different districts, trying to ask for information, and I realized that they said there's some cassava gari processor in some corner in Gumwa or Boise. I go there and they say, oh, oh, Papa is I'm there, OJ, my man 2 years new. And I'm like, so I was getting these guys to come in to harvest my produce and sell it to them. But guess what? The quantum cassava, conservatively, you are doing 10 metric tons per acre. You know, and these guys are processing probably a metric ton a whole month. So, how am I going to sell 200 acres of cassava selling to these guys? You know, and I was hopping around. So there was a processor in Volta region. And then he says, okay, you know what? He's struggling to get feedstock. So come sell to me. I go get a tipper truck. I'm harvesting cassava into a tipper truck and transporting all the way to the Volta region. Guess what? I'm doing the math. The numbers don't make sense. One time, my first supply, I remember in my head, I'm looking at all this quantum of cassava in the tipper truck, and I'm like, oh, this is about 20 metric tons. So I used 20 metric tons to do the numbers. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense, but at least I'm breaking even. So let me just go ahead and supply. Guess what? When the cassava arrived and we put on the weight bridge, offloaded, they came back with 13.2 metric tons. See that shortfall? I'm like, then this doesn't even make sense. You know? So, with armed with this information, at the time, I had a company called Good Food Farms. And I was doing maize, cassava, and then organic vegetables, selling to different people. Then I realized that there's no information that exists within the value chain that is readily available. The value chain actors are not connected in a way where it's making the value chain effective and efficient. So I started a company called Banchikrum. And essentially what we are doing at Banchikrum is we are building cassava eco spaces where we are juicing out the economic benefit of the derivatives at the end by connecting the different value chains in these communities backed by data. So that was my biggest challenge, but I turned it around to be my biggest opportunity as well. So with entrepreneurship, you have to be exceptionally dynamic for you to win at the end of the day. And it comes with a certain level of grit. See, I have wept. I'm telling you, I have wept. I have come back from sitting on a bulldozer that is clearing land, and then I'm looking for money for the next day to buy fuel into the bulldozer because I pay for the rental of the bulldozer. I pay for about 2 weeks, and I'm hoping that some money is coming from somewhere, and the money is not coming. So you've come back to Accra, you're looking for money, and then the next morning you wake up at dawn, and then you are shedding tears for no reason, you know? Like just shedding tears. But you pick yourself up, the next day, you show up, and then you have a brave face with your team and telling them that, oh, Scanereba, Mom is you. I'm telling you. And interestingly, somehow, the money comes. Yeah. You know, so that's it. It comes with a lot of grit, like, you know, and when I get to share my journey, I try to let people know what really is happening. Even now, I've not figured it out. I haven't, I'm telling you. See, when you delve into cassava, you know, the market size for the derivatives, we are talking about billions. And our vision is West Africa. I wish our vision is not Ghana. But I still not even figured out Ghana yet. You know, because even the agencies that are supposed to be supporting you don't even understand cassava. Do you get what we are dealing with? You know? So as an entrepreneur, you have a double entree of problems that other people within the bigger community in the West are dealing with. You are building your own framework and building a model on top of that framework you are building. Does that make sense? So the framework doesn't exist. You are building it, and you are also building your business model on a framework that you are building. How many years is that going to take you? So quite often, you need to understand that the vision is usually 15 to 20 years. When you go into the space, don't be thinking, oh, I'm going to be successful in the next 5 to 10 years. Quite often, it's not possible, and you are going to be woefully disappointed along the way if you are not thinking long term.
So,
and the 35 years tax break Initially, it was very easy for you to go to the Ministry of Business Development, and then just once you go talk to them, they'll support you to get that done. And it's a very seamless process. Now that ministry doesn't exist, so I would advise that you go to NEIP or just talk to a tax consultant, because it is law, it's a policy, you know. So your tax consultants can just get that done for you, and then you can file based on that. You know. And then, sorry, your question.
How, with someone who does not have any
Yes,
on
yes,
account,
yes. So, I'm a trained software developer. I haven't studied agric. I have no idea. I had no idea about agric when I delved into agriculture. You know, my bachelor's was in computer science at KNUST. But see, guess what? The thing is, I'm into entrepreneurship because I have ADHD. I can't sit at one place. I have ants in my pants. Literally, you know, I have ants in my pants. I need to move. Chaotic situations, I find chaotic situations very exciting. I'm telling you, like, once there's chaos, I thrive. And there's so much chaos in entrepreneurship, you know? So the thing is, I had to build all this learning curve alongside building a business, you know. And it's been such a beautiful journey because I've learned to enjoy, even when I'm like really down. I've learned to enjoy every single thing. Like when I'm driving from Volta region, going through Pando Topo, crossing the Afram River all the way to Afram Place. You know, the views, and then I climb up through Impriso to Nkoko, then I'm coming down to Ades and branch right all the way to Central Region. You know, like, the journey has been amazing for me, you know, and you need to be there. You need to ensure that you are getting mentors that really understand what you're doing and support your growth journey. You know, I will pester my mentors. For the past 7, I have pestered my mentors. There's this guy called Mr. Bento, who we call the cassava doctor, right? I'm pestering him all the time. I'm calling him at 12 a.m. And right now he's like, family. I said, I said, oh, Mr. Bento, I need this information, you know? So when I speak about cassava, when I'm on the field doing stuff about cassava, you know, sometimes we're on the field and then we're arguing about which post planting herbicide is going to work, because I've understood it so much that we are sharing ideas on what works. I'm like, no, the kind of soil I'm dealing with here, I don't think pendimentally will work. You know, and then as a sape, hey, it's because I'm digging deeper. So you need to dig deeper. You need to build a capacity. Be an authority in your space. And the last thing I'm going to say is that I find that in all these spaces, whether it is digitalization, whether it's agriculture, whether it's in Internet of Things, anything that, wherever you find yourself as an entrepreneur, apart from building your business, you have to evolve to become a firm advocate as well, because it goes in tandem where we find ourselves. So advocacy, kakra, entrepreneurship, kakra, because the social capital we are talking about, that's what gives you access to that social capital. Advocacy, entrepreneurship. And then people, oh, okay, this person, you know, he needs support. You know, I'm sure I've convinced you guys that I'm like the best cassava person. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is the last round of the panel discussion. But I'm going to give 10 seconds each to the rest of my panelists to just share something because of time. So 10 seconds each, and then we just run off.
All right, so my 10 seconds is it is best to start early. Once you start having a family, imagine all the struggles you went through. Imagine you have kids. It's a different ball game. It's better you start early. Yeah, that's all I'm arguing. Just start early.
Okay, so for 10 seconds, I would say that one thing that I left out is to actually, as an entrepreneur, consider alternative financing as well. And I've offered a bit on how to raise capital for your startup business. So we have for this, and for interest, you can grab a copy. For most of the things that you want to also have better understanding, you can actually go and see. Thank you.
Mary. Okay, what I'm gonna say is, start early. Do not let failure discourage you. And we should all learn as people to embrace mistakes and the discrimination. Let's tone it down a bit and embrace more TVET, technical skill. It will eat you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your comments and this. We wish you all what's your so happy today. So thank you so much. I'd like to hand over to Gifty. Okay. Please. So yes, my panelists, you are really